Hello, I'm Axel, and I'm here with John Kennedy. And John, please introduce people who you are and tell us what do you do and what's your passion. And
Well, yeah, she's already said my name, John F. Kennedy. A lot of people call me the dead president, the black president. The president has risen again. I have a lot of nicknames. I'm also known as Jump God, and basically that name was given to me. Let's clear that. I got to get that cleared because a lot of people think I gave myself that name, but I did not. A lot of my clients gave me that name due to helping people increase their vertical jump, and that's how the name was deemed to me. So I pretty much ran with it. It's catchy. It's a good branding name, so that's why I ran with Jump God. Uh, I've been in athletics, right, or athletics performance and development thereof for over like 16 years now. I'm co-owner of Academy Sports Academy and the co-developer of Vert Boost, a vertical jump program. Um, and that's basically it.
well, let's start with the beginnings, perhaps. How did you start being involved in athletics? Right? Yeah, I presume at one point you were just a kid, uh, you
Right.
know, doing something what wasn't perhaps so niched in the field of athletics. You were just probably enjoying your life. But how did you start at it? What draw the passion and what draw your eyes in the beginning with athletics?
I think what drove my passion was I was one of those kids that was naturally gifted. No lie, I was very, very strong naturally. I was fast naturally. I can jump naturally, and I think automatically that natural instinct for it all just um, developed my desire to increase and to understand, I guess, that world a little bit more. So it was just my natural gifts that really propelled me into this avenue or into this niche.
Could you perhaps name some turn of events that there was a first person that like showed you like this is how it's done, or something that like you saw an athlete that inspired you to dig in deeper and discover what you are capable of?
Yeah, and I'll say it was actually uncle, my uncle, my cousin. It was really family that was very athletic that inspired me. And I was around a bunch of older people that were like in their. This is odd, right? I was around a bunch of older people that was in their 50s actually, right? Still able to bench press 315, squat 315, deadlift 315. They sprinted the youngsters, and it was faster than we were. And honestly, looking at those older men, my uncle's cousin, it was and other people, that inspired me. I wanted that. As I got to their age, I still wanted to be able to have what they have. And that was pretty much my inspiration, still my inspiration to be, honestly, one of the oldest, fittest men on earth, like they were.
So, but still, you have to go to that lengthy career. You're still not that old. I'm trying to say, trying to
Right,
compliment you. But so you would say it was like a environment that was around you. You were pushed by the people that were around you, and they challenged you in a ways. What are basically the sports that you are involved with by training the athletes? And is there some athletes that you perhaps prefer to work more because like it's their mindset or whatever the case may be?
I'm currently working with all sports, like all genres. It doesn't even. Like I have clients in every field: tennis, soccer, football, basketball, track and field. When it comes to any type of physical development, working with injury prevention or injuries occurred. I mean, I'm that's what I do. So I'm pretty much I'm hands on in all sports. Um, my preferred athlete, I don't really have the preferred athlete. Typically, I do. It's just mindset. I prefer working with I don't care if you're a novice, in the middle stages, advanced. If you don't have like the mindset or the will to get where you want to go, I typically don't like to work with you. I'm picky.
From your
Right.
side of from your side of view, what is the mindset of that athlete? How does that athlete, like, how would you describe it? How does that athlete look like? Not only from a physical point, but from the way he carries himself and approach the sport itself.
Well, I mean, we can use the word discipline. We can use the word focus. I like focus, man, because to be focused means to be free. I always say that to be focused is to be free. And I think when an individual is focused, right, he has that tunnel vision. You're able to get what you need to be done. So outside influences, outside affairs are not affecting you. You're here for a purpose. You're trying to get, accumulate something. You're trying to get somewhere. And those type of people get it done. No matter the stages, no matter you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced, it's just those tunnel vision people, they get it done. And those are the people that I more like gravitate to when it comes to training. Or I like, yes, I'll take that kid. I will evaluate a kid, ask him questions, send him through a routine. And from that evaluation, I can tell if I want to take him or pass him to another trainer.
Some say that the highest leaping athletes in the NFL
Mm-hmm.
are even better leapers than the NBA leapers. Can you touch upon the subject, and where does this may come from?
Well, that's a toughie. All right, I think that is a myth first. Okay, I really think that's a myth. But if it was true, right, which it can go, it's truth actually too. Why I think that will be is because football players are just naturally stronger. They apply way more force to the ground. So there's one football athlete that off a standing vertical jump, no shoes on, hit a 47-inch vertical jump. And that's because of, I think, the strength accumulated, and he was able to transfer that strength into force. And a lot of football players have that ability. So, I mean, I don't like to put all eggs in one basket. That's what I'm going to say. It's a myth. But in retrospect speaking, football players probably would be better leapers because of strength and the transfer of energy, the amount of energy that they could store and shoot through quickly to get up in the air. I mean, I could see it. I've never even heard that. I didn't even know that was going on like that. That's pretty interesting though. But I could see how many would believe that football players jump higher than basketball players. I definitely could see that. Yeah.
I heard this from some football guys, that they have this like approach, probably, and there's some bias in it.
No, but I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, and
that.
everybody has to be like hard on their craft, so somewhat
Right,
patriotism has to come into to your sport, right? About the stuff that you coach, right, and you develop yourself, because like you're still training yourself, right?
right.
What are the paths that you have took to study the craft? Like, because I imagine, for example, let's say 10 years ago, the way you trained probably was different and you approached it differently. Perhaps you can discuss the evolution of your craft, like how it was perhaps in the beginning stages, and how it has developed and how it is right now.
Well, I can say in the beginning stages, I was one of those guys that really believed in hitting the pavement, grind, 7 days a week. Get it all, tear up your body. You need as many reps as possible. Get all that you can get in. And through the course of my years, I found out that does more damage to the body, than anything. Not allowing the body to properly heal, not allowing those muscle fibers to, generate and become stronger and stronger and stronger every single time. So I think one of the biggest things that I've learned over my course is rest. Or, a lot of people is getting on Quad Leonard about load management.
Right.
I think today that is a very, people take that lightly. They don't really understand the benefit of actually resting the body, especially now, because even now it's like that microwave generation. Everybody want to really just go, get it now, I want it now. And I just think that rest is one of them things that we just kind of like laugh at, shrug our shoulders. We don't need it. We'll be okay. But I think it's an important factor. I think that would be the biggest thing that I've learned or has changed in my training is my rest load.
That's a very good subject to discuss. I think perhaps a challenging part of it is the balance, finding the balance. How do you find the balance for yourself and for the athletes perhaps that try to push themselves harder and harder like each day, and perhaps like, they have the mindset of like, I'm not doing enough. I could still do more, but perhaps sometimes you have to come in and put on your hand on the shoulder and say like, you have to rest. Like, how do you approach that? And what's the challenge between that?
Well, basically, man, I mean, there is no right or wrong approach to it. It's just you really have to pay attention to your body, pay attention to your client. I'm constantly looking, each training session, the fatigue level, the focus level, because all that's going to come, especially when you're tired, you're not resting, not getting enough rest, you're going to see it in your performance. I think as long as you're paying attention or even feeling it for myself, like you're going to feel when you need to take that rest. So I need a day off or I need a couple days off. So it's really about being attentive, very, very attentive to how your body is feeling, how you perform your lifts, your strength levels, et cetera, et cetera.
So it's a lot about journaling as well and understanding where are you at
Yeah.
and feeling.
Yes.
So
journaling, I think, and that's that's important too, because I think a lot of people will take that, and I'm guilty. I've been a guy that, I guess because I've done it for so long, I kind of like know certain things about myself. I don't really need journals. Like I know, I feel like I've mastered. And that's another skill. I've mastered who I am in the weight room or in training. When it comes to weights, where I'm at, percentages, how I'm feeling. And I think a lot of times, a lot of athletes or the trainers don't take out the time to actually understand who they are in every body shape. What I mean by that is, when I say body shape, every movement, every exercise being performed, you really have to be attentive to self and how you're feeling, your movement patterns. And I think as you're going through the years, those days of training, you learn so much. It's almost, have you ever dieted before?
Yeah, somewhat.
So you know how you get to a point where now you can start weighing out your food without a scale. You kind of
Right.
know what 5 ounces of meat is. You kind of know what 5 ounces of the green beans is, because you've done it so long. You no longer need to actually put the meat on the scale or put the green beans on the scale, because you've mastered it. It's become habit. So that's kind of like where I'm at with it. Understanding or learning balance. You have to master.
Right. It's like being a chef with the hands, right? Like a chef doesn't need the cups, like it goes by intuition and a feeling. Everything,
Yes.
how much you have to cook, everything,
Yes.
like slice and cut and everything. Uh, about things that perhaps are more inclined to performance, right? Let's say someone is very declined in like being strong in one field, whether that would be strength or would it be endurance or whatever, or conditioning and something like that, but would be weaker in other aspect. How do you approach those athletes from that point of view, where you are trying to make their strengths better, or you trying to develop their weaknesses, or there's a mixture between both? Like, how do you approach that?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture between both. What I'll try to do, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I'm the type of guy, perfect what you're good at. Find what you're good at, stick to that thing. Now, when you come to your accessory work or your deload weeks or your deload days or whatever, that's when you work on weaknesses. But for the most part, me, especially when it comes to sports, you gotta focus on what you're good at, because to take out time and try to develop a weakness, and then depending on how bad that weakness is or how far gone, it'll take sometimes years to bring that weakness up, or 6 months to bring that weakness up, when that whole time you could have still just been mastering what you're good at, right? And just continue to elevate higher and higher and higher. So let me give you an example, because I like to always give examples. It's kind of like Usain Bolt, right? The fastest sprinter in the world ever, all time. I doubt it'll be a long time before somebody comes behind him, I think. But he had an imbalance in his hip, right? It's just a practical example. And most people will look at that as a weakness, right? So if he would have spent like a lot of time trying to, balance his hips, fix his hips constantly, right? He's losing ground, like to perfect or master or do things that he needs to do to work on that start, to, have a smooth transition, to work on that poise while you're sprinting. So again, like, to focus on a weakness, it is important, but I rather focus on the strength and become the best in the world, the fastest in the world.
I want to take this back to like some athletes that are somewhat in youth athletes, right? Because in youth, it's actually somewhat encouraged to participate in several sports, right? And
Right.
it develops like your cognitive mind and as well as a different variation of your coordination. But there are sometimes if you want to continue sports later on, there has to be a choice made, and sometimes it's difficult to make that choice. And I actually been one of those athletes that, I've been actually thinking perhaps I was doing three sports at once, and I actually was asking this question: am I doing the right sport? Maybe I should pick up something else and discover my talent there. And how do you see that, and what advice you could give to someone like that?
The advice I would give somebody like that, well, I have that because I'm around. I have like over 300 kids in my organization right now, from third grade all the way to 12th, and we deal with that a lot. We have a lot of multi-sport athletes, so typically I ask a couple questions, sometimes a few, and I'll be like, where do you feel you're the strongest? Question number one, because that athlete, no matter, you have to be able to answer that question for yourself. Not taking advice from your parents, not your coaches, not your trainers, not your peers. Where do you feel you're the strongest at? Okay, I always ask them that question, and then I'll ask, which sport do you have the most love for? Like, or which sport do you feel you'll be most focused in? And from those couple of questions or a few questions, they come up with an answer. And that's basically what I give them. Where are you the strongest? Which one do you have the most love for? And what do you feel you'll be most focused, the most free? Because I feel like I try not to give, I don't want to give advice in that direction for them to go in the direction. I'd rather them choose it, because it's important for the athlete to choose that avenue or that niche or that direction that they want to go to, not allowing anyone else to be I feel to be influencers on their decisions, because it's just like life. You have to come to a point where you live with the decisions you make. And when it comes to like being a man or a woman, that's very, very important to teach the youth and things like that, to be able to make a decision for self is so important. So those are the three questions that I don't give advice. I just ask questions when it comes to that, because that's something even for yourself. You have to sit with self and really, really ponder and ask. For you, not no one else, but for you. Which field are? Because what sports did you do? How many? If you don't mind me asking that
Yeah,
question.
I did a sport called kayaking, right? I did track and
Okay.
field, right?
Okay.
That was actually one of the first sports. Prior to that, I even did some boxing and wrestling. And
Okay.
another sport that I did was basketball. So I was like keen in three sports. I was competing internationally in three sports.
Okay.
Then I still, and at the school level, I was still in the swimming team, and I was playing football, and I was still playing floorball. So that
Wow.
was at the school level, but like in other international levels, I was competing in three sports. So I was thinking like perhaps I should try my talents in volleyball, but I was like I never tried volleyball, so perhaps I just leave it as it.
So let's do the test. So let me ask you this question: um, uh, what sport were you the strongest in?
I was thinking about this while you were describing this, and it's hard to me to answer this because like I see strengths and weaknesses in each of them. That's why
Yeah, but don't look at the weaknesses.
yeah,
Don't look at the weaknesses. Just look at the strength. Where were you? What sport were you the strongest in? Don't
probably
take away the weaknesses. Take away the
yeah.
weaknesses.
Then I have to like think about this more. It's a really I think lengthy thought process that you have to go through to come to that conclusion. Because
Okay.
like I still like try to mix it up sometimes. For fun. Now I have keen more on track and field, but like probably I have gone through the process and made the decision, but I still am thinking sometimes like perhaps I should return and try something what I did already or something new. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but you touched the subject of your organization, right? It's called KT Sports, right? Academy, is that correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wanted to ask what's the story behind it, and how did you start it, and what do you do there, and how's it working with those kids?
Well, working with the kids is pretty awesome. Can't complain about that, man, to have an impact on the youth. It actually started, I actually trained a guy by the name of Ransom Akapala, like in 2012, I want to say, for a summer, and may have had a big impact on him. We lost contact for years, and his mother somehow found me in one of my other locations and kind of brought us back together. And actually, I was just his coach. He's my business partner. He is the guy that I'm actually in business with, and basically reuniting with him. And he having a certain vision, I'm having a certain vision. We pretty much bought the vision together, and therefore you have Academy Sports Academy today. But now we're actually expanding, which we're going to be changing the name to Legacy Sports and Fitness. We're expanding in a huge way. So the name will be changing, to increase our range and impact on the youth today. So that's the story. I basically trained a kid who came back, and now we're business partners.
Right. Can you tell about the approach, how you train, right? Or do you put emphasis on plyometrics, or do you put more emphasis on strength, or if someone lacks conditioning, you put that as a key aspect, perhaps, like you see, like there's a basketball player, he's lacking that, and you work with a lot of NBA players as well, so how do you approach the training aspect of it? Perhaps not only with the pros, but with the kids as well.
Yeah, case by case. It's just really, again, being attentive and seeing what they need. So I know if they're in need of more plyo, they're not very explosive. Yeah, we're gonna work in a lot of plyo work. If they need relative strength, it may just be beginners. Like for a lot of beginners, I do focus on relative strength. Let's just get the compound movements down, mastered. Let's develop as much strength as we possibly can. And for the novice, then we'll progress, to a little bit more plyo, a little bit more real time. I'm a real time individual, so you got like a lot of guys that do sand work, which I know it's good for like joint health and tendon health, things like that, or running on the hills and doing all the extra stuff. I don't have nothing against it, but I'm the type of guy that I'll be like, do we play on hills? Or do we play on sand? I'm that type of guy. So how about we just master, sprint techniques on flat terrain and things like that. I'm a very simple trainer. I don't really get caught up in like a lot of a lot of people will believe you have to stay with the newness or the new hype or all the new trends in fitness and all the new training concepts that's going on in fitness. I'm pretty simple, old school. Let's just do what has worked for since the beginning. We don't have to get caught up in a lot of the other hoopla. So it's just, for me, it's just case by case, man, depending on who I have in there, my evaluation, what I feel that they need. And I'm going to ask them. I'm that type of, I want you to know yourself. What do you feel you need? What do you want to improve on? And from there, listening to them and me watching, we kind of bridge it all together.
You touched the subject of basically sticking to the fundamentals, right? But
Yes.
I've seen some of the videos that you put out, and those are crazy stuff, man. That doesn't look like the fundamental. That looks like you have to have some.
Let me be transparent. So in the day and age, right, you still got to be able to evolve. So a lot of that is just for show. It's just for fun. It's because you've been doing something for so long. It's like the soccer player that can put a bottle on top of the goalpost and hit the bottle off with the ball. It's just for fun. It's just, that's the fun of it all. I would consider a lot of that just nitty gritty training. That's just having fun with it. Yeah.
So basically, you can do that after you master the fundamentals. Is that what you're saying, right? Yeah. All right. I want to talk about something that you may see with a lot of athletes, right? For example, perhaps you could name the most talented athlete, or how do you see what is talent? Because some people say talent is something they see from a side and say he's talented, but perhaps that person was not very skilled and just worked on it, put in a lot of work on it to develop those skills, and now he's perceived as talented. But some
Right.
athletes, on the other hand, just have that natural ability that haven't done it at all and just can, from the jump get it done and then be good at it, at some craft. So how do you see what is talent, and perhaps you can talk about some talented athletes that you have worked in.
That's a very interesting question. That's a very interesting question. So I think how I will view talent is, well, for me, ooh, that's a double-edged sword, because of course you can't ignore the fact that a person that's just gifted, that just has naturally speed, that has that natural 40-inch vertical, they can go run that 40 in like 4.3, 4.4, no training. You know, I'm gonna say that's talent, the effortless athlete. But at the same time, I think that also just as equal, I think they go neck and neck for me. It's like the Twin Towers. You got two sides of it. You got that effortless athlete that could just perform things, in his sleep or in her sleep, But then you got the other guy or the other athlete, right, or gal that that has, I think it's, that mental factor, right? Like the Kobe Bryant, or the person that puts in just a ton of reps, right? Like, I consider that as talent. That's just my personal opinion. People don't even know a person like Rajon Rondo, right? Basketball player, who will
Right.
go in the gym and perform the same pass for an hour. Like, just hitting it against the wall, it's the same pass for an hour. Don't do anything different. Things like that to me is talent. Like, you can't, because this is my opinion. All right, so you can't teach the effortless athlete, and you can't teach that. A lot of times people either have you either have it or you don't when it comes to those aspects, like the having that mental focus to just become the greatest. You can't teach that, and you can't teach the effortless guy that can just, or gal that can just jump 40 inches in the air. So I think it's two aspects that you really can't teach, and I don't know if you will agree, but I'm around kids all the time, and you see the difference, because you got the kids that you don't have to say anything to. They're there 15 minutes earlier than a lot of other kids. They're already stretching, they're ready to go. And when they're working out, they're locked in and not laughing and giggling. And that's something that you don't have to pour much into that kid, because that kid already has it. It's gonna evolve, no matter if it's engineering, lawyer, doctors, like that. It's gonna transfer that mind. To have that focused mind, I think is a talent. Honestly, I'm gonna use the mind as number one, and then I'll put the effortless athlete. I'll go 1A, 1B.
I like that you touched the aspect of mental factor and the mind. Perhaps sometimes you touch that you don't have to like push those athletes as much, but how do you help achieve the goals with those athletes, and in general, how are you helping, like, how can someone like set goals and achieve them in the future, like goal achieving, like sometimes that type of subject is very important, so perhaps you can touch upon that, like how do you achieve goals and set them,
Well,
or set goals and achieve would be
I'm,
the
I'm
better
a
a
little,
better order.
yeah, I'm a little biased when it comes to like that certain topics. I don't set goals. I don't think, this is my personal opinion, I don't think goals are needed. So if I'm speaking to somebody that does believe in like setting goals and achieving goals, right? All you have to be there to do is feed into that energy. That's it. That's what I do for. Just say if a kid had a goal to make freshman A football, freshman A. I don't know how it is where you're from, but we have like freshman A, freshman B in high school.
Yeah.
So they want to make the top team, whether it be track, football, baseball. So that's their goal. So what I do as a coach is I just feed into that energy. You told me you want to make freshman A, so I'm going to push you to make freshman A. I'm going to feed off your energy that you're providing, the aroma that you're putting in the air. This is what I want, coach. I really want this, more than anything. All right, well, let's go achieve it. With positive reinforcement and me just right there on your tail, not letting you slack, not letting you make it, that's going to get you to that fresh made for all people who set goals. Because then, with the goal setting too, this is the other side of it, right? You set goals, and just say you didn't have the coach, right, that understood how to feed into that energy, or the right support system, or whatever the case may be, right? And you don't make the team that you desire, right? You didn't make your goal, you didn't achieve your goal. So a lot of people, that's crushing. A lot of people give up. A lot of people don't come back from that. So I'm kind of like the individual. It's just let's not worry about goals. Let's just work, right? All you have to do is just put the work in. Let's just see what we achieve by just putting the work in. Don't focus on whether you're going to make freshman A, whether you're going to make freshman B, whether you're going to make a D1 scholarship, whether you're going to make it to the professional level. Let's just go. Let's just work. Give 110% every day. And if you give 100%, if you just give 110% in all that you're doing every day, you're going to achieve great things. You won't need goals. Just giving 110% effort every single day.
Right. I unfortunately do not remember the name of that athlete, but perhaps you remember the story. It was about 2 years ago. There was this math teacher that was like his other job. He was a math teacher, and he was playing in the G League, in the NBA G League, and then he signed with the Lakers. You remember that story, right? I mean, this kind of, you said like, okay, you didn't get to the, your A team, but there's a time limit to that, right? Because like you're a student at a certain time and so on. How would you like perceive those limits, right? Because like you can be persistent, but it will just, do you feel like it will come eventually with time and you have to just be persistent? Or would you say there's a limit of cap that, people just cannot achieve that? For example, like another thing that I want to mention, like, for example, you mentioned Kobe Bryant, right? Kobe Bryant, many say, is the closest thing to Michael Jordan, right? All the play styles, you could see like the identical moves, but still Kobe had one limitation. He didn't have as big hands as Michael did, right? So there's that limit. How would you see those limits of how much people can achieve, and like perhaps people just should understand like, oh, this is your capita, or like that?
Yeah, and I think and that's a great topic, because a lot of people are I don't want to use the word, they don't want to look at or face reality on a lot of things, right? And I think that's okay. I do believe that timing is very important. We're not going to say the cap, but timing is very important. And for some people, they miss that window. There is a window, and I think that you do have to face reality on certain things, like especially if you missed your window, or if that timing hasn't been there for you, you got to know when to say when. I think that's very, very important. I do believe that there is limitations. Certain people are not going to do certain things, and I think when we can, face that reality, I think that actually can propel an individual into something even greater than they even could imagine. Because that individual may thought, like, just say playing in the NFL, right? Oh, that is the greatest thing. You can achieve nothing more than that, right? But because of certain limitations, I think if that individual probably just faced like, I have certain limits, or I missed my timing, and had put their energy right now into something else, they can find out like that there's so many other things out there that's could be better, bigger than just playing in the NFL, or even have more of a huger impact on them as a person, as an experience, as we live in this life. So yeah, I do believe that there are limiting factors. I think a lot of people need to face reality a little bit more And it's real. And I'm that type with my athletes. Now, I am very transparent. I don't like to use the word real, but I'm very transparent. I'm very honest. So if I feel like a kid don't have it, or if I feel like a kid is not focused enough, or if I feel like a kid is, I'm honest with them and I'm honest with the parents. Now, do I shoot the dream down? No. But I do tell them my honest opinion. Like, if this kid doesn't do X, Y, and Z, blase, blase, blase. If this kid hasn't made it by this time, blase, blase, blase. I am that coach. I am that guy. So, yeah.
Right. Are there people that you have modeled your approach, or your, let's say, for example, your mentors that like have give you the path of like how do you coach in your athleticism, like
Right.
people that you study from?
Right. I really, to be honest with you, I really haven't studied from a lot of people. I think my biggest mentor, where I get a lot of my style from, is my mother. To be honest with you, now I can say, right, I do like Pavel. You know Pavel?
Uh, that
He's,
th-
he's a Russian kid.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
he's a
yeah.
like.
I
I
know
mean,
you're referencing there.
yeah. And I've taken a lot from him. I'm just gonna name the few that I have looked at. And I can't even say that I've named my training style from him, but I just took a lot of different movement exercises, techniques from Pavel. Joe DeFranco, you ever heard of him?
I think yeah.
He's a pretty popular guy. Joe DeFranco I forget. So I don't look at him that much, but I have looked at him. I forget his name, but he's more of a movement guy, more body weight, more flow, and I look at a lot of his stuff. But nah, man, I mean, I'm pretty authentic.
Sticking with his fundamentals, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty authentic, man.
Yeah. One thing, it's more so about now, but like the current times could teach us in the future, right? How do you see the approach right now with the all the leagues? You touched previously in our conversation subject of Kawhi Leonard and his load management. How do you see right now? Because we are recording this on the pandemic time, right? It's globally, and a lot of sports leagues, like, let's be honest, not a lot of all the sports leagues probably in the world, whether it be China, Germany, wherever the case may be, are closed down right now. So how do you see that? Is that an advantage for people, or this is a bad thing? And how do you see that this big break in it, in lack of ability to train? How do you see that? Is it an advantage, or perhaps this is an opportunistic time?
Well, I'll say opportunistic. I'll say an advantage because that 1%. All right, the 1%, the people like we talked about not having to push, not having to be there for them to work. Those people are really getting ready to stand out even more. Like I think now this is gonna be a time where you really see, I guess, the focused individuals, the individuals that want it the most in times like this, because I think it's gonna be such a distance now between them and everyone else coming out of this pandemic. It's gonna be a vast difference. So I'm gonna say it's an advantage for them because everyone else is sitting down. Either like, especially when it comes to the youth, man. Like, and I know this because I talk to a lot of kids. They're up at 2 to 6 in the morning playing video games on all this other stuff. Waking up like at 2, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, not getting any training in. They eat and they go right back to the video games. But you have your few, the 1% that are actually putting in work, even more work. And I just think, yeah, it's going to be an advantage for them. For the kids that are not as focused and don't have the drive, don't have the desire, it's a disadvantage for them because I feel like they're just going to wither away even more through a time like this. So You know, and a lot of those kids, I feel like, need that structure or discipline because, you know, it keeps them busy instead of just, you know, playing the video games all day and all night.
They
Because,
will be
in this time, day and age, man, you have to be so productive because things are moving so much faster. And I think when it comes to just the level of performance, and I'm saying this across the board, whether you're an engineer, an athlete, it doesn't matter your field. People are doing things such at a high level and such a perfection. You really don't have time, you know, to waste. You have to really perfect or master your craft or your lane so that you could be in that 1%, man, because it's the talent level nowadays, the drive, it's different, man. We on a different level with a lot of stuff now. So,
right.
yeah.
It's exactly as your shirt says. They will need an extra hour plus in a day to match
Right.
up, right?
And actually, this is one of my trainers' brands, man. So 258 Elite Training. It's a
Right.
young lady. It's a young lady. This is her brand out of our gym. Yeah, but that is a true statement.
This is like a big, almost like a philosophical question. I have two of them for you.
Yeah.
What would you say is your biggest achievement? It could be anything as you perceive it.
My biggest achievement. Mm. My biggest achievement. Wow. Mm. That's my biggest achievement. My biggest achievement to me would be the study of myself. I don't know if that'll make sense to you, but like I think coming to terms with everything that I am has been my biggest achievement.
Right. And the other question I have for you is, what do you think is the most important thing?
Ooh, what is the most important thing? What's the most important thing? To me,
Right.
the most important thing to me will be to is basically being grateful for this life and everything in it. That is the most important thing to me, to be grateful for this life and everything in it. When it comes to the trees we look at every day, the animals, we as a people, the grass, everything that we know, I think so many times we take a lot of it just for granted, you know, the beauty of it all. Because like, it's kind of like, we'll look at everything or certain thing as ugly or bad or negative, or like even this pandemic that we're going through, people, you know, will just just look at this one thing and look at it as just, oh, it's the worst thing in the world, which I totally get, right? But at the same time, it's a part of life, you know. I guess like the death part of it, the life part of it, the cyclical motion that we're in. Just be grateful for it.
To wrap things up, I have three more things for you. First thing is, if you could ask a question to someone, what would be the question, and who would you ask it?
Wow. If I had to ask a question to someone, what would be the question? Well, I would like to ask Tesla a question. I would like to ask Tesla a question, or Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk, right? I would like to ask him a question, and same thing as you asked me. You know, where did you develop the focus, right? Or where did that focus come from for you to achieve all that he did? You know, I would like to ask him that question for sure.
All right.
You know?
And two more things, right? One is perhaps you can avoid that if you don't don't want to. But first thing is, do you have a question for me? And if not, then do you have something to say and wish to everybody, like a good last wrap up words, so to say?
Okay, I have a question for you. What has propelled you into this avenue of like interviewing and asking questions and talking to different people? What propelled you into this direction?
Right. When I was in the States, training in Florida a couple of years ago, around that time, I actually met you as well. It was around that time I was training from Monday to Saturday, and I had Sundays off. And those Sundays were super boring. So I just Googled an actress, and I looked up, and there was an interview. And I saw interviews give you a very interesting, a view for people and their mindsets. And I think there's a value. And one of, I would say, the person that has like inspired me the most is Kobe Bryant in my lifetime. And he had a movie. He has a movie called the Muse, right? And the movie starts with a quote that says, uh, "Understanding someone else's journey helps you create your own." So I think there's a power of understanding someone else's journeys and stories, and I think that's something that I could give to other people as well. Not only hearing your story myself, but like sharing these stories with others. And I think there's a value in it. So that's why I started it, and I actually started it years ago, but now in this time, as you mentioned, I think this is the time to just take this opportunity and propel this. Although I cannot meet the people, face to face, as I would actually prefer, but like through the Zoom format, I think that's an opportunity that I have to grasp.
Facts. That's factual. Okay, that's pretty awesome, man. That's pretty awesome.
Your good good words to everybody, so to say,
My,
to wrap
my
up.
good words to everybody. Uh, my good words to everybody will be basically it's okay to say I don't know, right? Because I think in that moment or in that space, you become unbiased. You relinquish past, right? Because past is fear, or the I is fear. And I think when you look at a lot of things from that perspective, you already predetermined outcomes. So when you have the mindset of just saying or going into something I don't know, you receive so much more. All right. So to have the mindset of I don't know, that's just freeing yourself of everything to gain everything. All right, that makes sense. So I think the more you come in a situation or live your life as, in so many words, ignorant, you receive so much truth because you're not coming in predetermined or defensive in the situation or prejudging the situation, already having your mind made up about a situation. You open yourself up to receive so much more. And you put yourself at more of a peace to understand or have empathy towards other people in the situations and things like that. So just to have the I don't know mindset, because it's kind of like I'm a little different on a lot of things. 'Cause like the quote you said that Kobe Bryant, like I respect that quote. I get it. I'm an unbiased person, but I'm the type of guy that I'm on the opposite side of, because I feel like if you're constantly uh, uh, involved in another man's journey or another man's mind to a certain extent, how do you ever expect to come up with anything or authentic? How do you ever expect to know self in its wholeness or in its completeness? Because we're so always pulled or gravitated to another person's experience or another person's past, if that makes sense. Because that's what pulls us or gravitates us to each other, is our past experiences. A lot of people tend to we we live in the past. A lot of people are like, no, I live in the now. I'm enjoying the present time. We either live in the past or we live in the future. It's only two. And most of us stay stuck in the past because you got to think about it. A lot of decisions that we make every single day, we're not making spontaneous decisions. We're making decisions based off what happened in the past.
Right.
Therefore, the past is always present. That's why I would tell people to live in the I don't know mindset, because sometimes you need to relinquish yourself of what you know to move forward to an unknown place that ultimately can propel you to great things, you know what I mean? Or things that you didn't even think about or even imagine that could take place in your life. It's kind of like, or for the person that may not be that driven or don't have the goals or whatever the case may be, a lot of that is because they hold on to the past or they hold on to what they know versus just relinquishing it. Let's just leave it all on the table for just a little while. Just let it all go for a little while and just see what you come up with. It's like a refresh button.
Right.
Hit the refresh button, as many times as you need to, man, especially mentally. You gotta sometimes this have many on a roller coaster and just stuck, in the same place. So I guess my words of encouragement, there's some weird words of encouragement, but just to have I don't know mindset. It is okay to say I don't know. We don't always feel like we have to come up with an answer or to have to be the smartest in the room or just to know exactly how we're gonna figure this out, or how we're gonna do this, or how this is gonna work. Everyone always wants to be so particular, so planned. You don't always have to know every single thing to make moves.
One last thing that I would like to ask you still, although I said I would like to wrap this up, but like one last thing, what are your goals? What are your goals? Like how do you see your future?
And this is, like I told you, for me, I'm gonna sound crazy to most. I am crazy to most. And just to let you know, even for yourself, because I know you be like, this guy is this guy is different. To understand, be a little bit more, I have another Instagram page, and it's called Qualitarian Lifestyle. I put a lot of questions and a lot of my thoughts on that page, but I don't have goals. I'm just living life, me personally. I don't have any goals at this time. I doubt that I set goals. I'm just living life, man. I'm just enjoying life. I only get caught up into all of. That's just my opinion. I think it's like hoopla to me, because I think when you get caught up in, I don't want to say hoopla, but we feel because of the circular world and what we've been conditioned to like desire and want. It's all a conditioning, so I don't really get caught up in the conditioning. I just live. And like I told you, everything that I do right now, I pour my all into. That's it. I just live, and everything that I do, I pour my all into. And whatever comes from that, comes from that. I'm okay. I'm good with that, No goals. I'm just enjoying every day. Again, if I'm gonna ask anybody around, even if I'm playing a video game, something like that, it don't matter what I'm doing. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put my all into that thing. So that's me. That's my mindset. That's who I am. So yeah, don't forget that page, Qualitarian Lifestyle, because for most, especially if people hear this interview, people already think I'm crazy, but you will understand more of my perspective as a whole by looking through that page. Yeah.
Right. I still remember that crazy day that I first saw you, when it was I saw you in the gym. You were jumping like 63 inches, something like that, over the hurdle. But now it's a pleasure to see a different, not only the athletic, but also the mindful side of the person that has different sides of personality. And I think also your story is something that people can grasp from it and create their own story. Right. So thank you for doing this interview, and all the best to you, man.
All right, man. Thank you, man. Anytime.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for watching this interview with John F. Kennedy. I love the way he approaches things in life, in athletics, and everything in general. But if you want to hear another interview with a strength and conditioning coach, I have an interview with Chris Barnett right here. And also you can subscribe to my channel. But one last thing from John, let's kick it off with that.
Applying massive force to the ground, and let's jump higher!